So we are approaching Buffalo's Hook waterhole and just having a quick look for tracks. I know there's another vehicle checking from the other side for tracks, but I did see a track there that looked quite nice. Just come back quick. Oh, it was Howard the hyena. Oh, wow, look at that. So as we arrive at the Buffalo's Hook waterhole, we'll have a look there, and obviously our resident hippopotamus Bob is in residence, but Bob is not alone. Also, while we have a look at Bob, it gives me a chance to listen in case those lions decide to start calling again. So there are 2 hippo in the Buffalo's Hook waterhole tonight, or this morning. They look quite content. I'm just going to have a look with my binoculars, see if I can see any distinguishing features that might scream Bob. It's a bit difficult in this light, not being able to see the body. Bob seems to have a very distinct scar down the middle of his back. And what else is at Buffalo's Hook at this wonderful morning? There's a white-breasted cormorant. It seems to be quite a regular here at the moment. Taking advantage of the drying waterhole and the fish that are left behind. And just to the left, there's a grey heron. We're hoping that those lions just give one last call, just to let us know whether we are chasing phantoms because they're north of the boundary, or there is a possibility that we might be able to find them. Wonderfully beautiful still morning. Almost not a breath of wind at all. So, well, good for Bob. It seems like Bob has some companionship. And we can't hear anything just yet. So I think we're going to move on and check further east towards where we thought those lions were calling. And see if we can find some tracks. Hi, John Boy from California. John Boy would like to know whether I've had any interactions with the sky bed males. John Boy, I am not sure who they are or where they are. I know of other lions to the south called the Sand River males, but I haven't had any interaction with them. Maybe you guys could let me know who the sky bed males are. Send your answers to questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. I might have a little bit of signal breakup as I drop through this drainage line, but I'll be through it in as quick as possible time. Okay, so we're going to go check now towards the Cheetah Cut line, which is our eastern boundary. Guess these lion calls were coming from this vicinity, so fingers crossed that they are around here. And of course, you never know what might be around the next corner, so we'll be checking for everything. And a little quiz while we continue to check, specifically on hippopotamus, since we just saw Bob and Bob's friend. And I would like to know which country in Africa has the largest population of hippopotamus. Which country in Africa has the largest population of hippopotamus? And you can send your answers to questions at WildEarthTV or use the hashtag SafariLive if you're on Twitter. Doesn't look like there are any tracks yet, so what we're going to do is we're going to move along for the next 5 minutes or so, and then when I get to the next spot to stop and listen and see if there's any update from the game drives or from the lions themselves. Well done to Blair, who got that hippo question in record time. Blair said Zambia. That is correct, Blair. Zambia has 3 large river systems that are very full of hippo, and that is the Zambezi, the Luangwa, and the Kafue. And then also a bunch of lake systems up in the north, or we've got Lake Tanganyika and Lake Benguelu, which are all very much full of hippos. Okay, well, on the subject of hippopotamus, I hear James is near some possible hippos, so we're going to cross back to Commander Bond and we're going to keep looking for these lions, so we'll be back with you a little later in the show.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the glories of Wendy. We are just approaching Aratuza Dam. We did find tracks of a male leopard. Unfortunately, sorry, I've taken a wrong turn. I'm not reversing because I feel it's an artistic way to take pictures. We found tracks of a male leopard. They did head far west, I'm afraid, off the reserve where we are. And so we've given those up. and we're heading towards the water. Kind of hoping if there might be an elephant having a drink there, perhaps. In the meanwhile, the weather has warmed. Brian has stripped off. No, he hasn't yet. He hasn't taken off any layers. I have dispensed with a blankie across my legs. I'm feeling pretty good about the day, really, despite the apparent lack of action about the place. There are some hippopotami out of the water, so I think we'll go and have a look at them now. And perhaps something will turn up while we're here. So that you can see in front of you is Arathusa Safari Lodge, one of many safari lodges in the area. So we'll just have a quiet sit here and listen out to what's going on, chat about the hippopotami and see what winter birds have pitched up in the water. Go. What are those, Brian? Oh, they're sacred. No, those are spoonbills. Those white birds are spoonbills. Spoonbills that have terrified the life out of the hippo, and you've just heard them rushing into the water. That's spectacular. I haven't seen spoonbills in this area before. Really nice. Lovely shooting there, Brian. Oh, they're sort of breaking out of formation, coming back in. I'm afraid we won't hang around here for a great deal of time. It would appear that somebody in Arathusa camp is making a rather severe modification to some other piece of Arathusa camp with a very loud power tool. So we'll just have a quick look at the hippos, who are now shouting, I believe, at us probably. And they were standing on a little island when we arrived, as you saw, and then the spoonbills flew over and they took fright for some reason. I was just reading the other day, something quite interesting about hippos is that they, I mean, you probably all know, or a lot of you know, that they can suckle underground, but they don't feed underground. So the adults, if they find something nice in the bottom of the water, and they eat grass, for people who don't, if you don't know, they can't feed on the bottom of the water, quite logically, because if they open their mouths, they'll probably swallow more water than they'll get food, and they'll be in danger of drowning. So they only feed if they find something on the bottom of the dam like this. They'll bring it up and eat it on the surface. A lovely little one walking across there. Debbie, a lovely question as we watch that little hippo, another little one coming into frame there. Lovely question as to what is the most widely distributed animal throughout Africa. Now remember, Debbie, and I don't know if this is what you meant. I don't know if this is what you meant with your question, but basically that doesn't mean the most numerous mammal, it means the most widely distributed. So where would it be most found in the most places? And I think you'd be surprised at what I think the answer is. I believe there has been some debate on the Twitterverse, and that look at that, sorry, I'm just pausing because that hippo is eating water vegetation. Look at that. That's very cool to see. So basically I've never seen them eating that water vegetation. I've only ever heard of it happening, and so I was starting to doubt that it did. But that hippo is definitely eating some of those reeds. So I believe that there has been quite a lot of debate on the Twitterverse as to what the most widely distributed mammal in Africa is, and that the hippo came up as one of them. I'm going to disagree with the hippo, and I'm going to let you decide for the next 5 minutes what you all think it is, and then I'm going to tell you what I think it is. And I think you'll be surprised at the answer. It's very peaceful here without the angle grinder going. So one of the nice things about winter is that we do get to look at hippos like this. In summer they're never out of the water like this, or very, very seldom. Edward and Brent, the most widely spread mammal, you say, is humans. Yes, I suppose you're probably correct. I'm going with wild animal though. So let's get some answer on the most widely distributed non-human mammal in Africa. Humans would be absolutely correct, yes. So we've had wildebeest, some form of horned antelope, and zebra from John Boy and from William. No, I think you're both wrong. I think, and purple rain, wildebeest. I think you're all wrong, I'm afraid. I think that the most widely distributed wild mammal in Africa is in fact the leopard, and I'll tell you why. You find them still living outside of protected areas. They can live in semi-desert, almost complete desert. They can live in almost complete forest. So you will find them in North Africa, throughout the Atlas Mountains, through the Levant, down through into Egypt. You'll find they won't occur across the Sahara, but as soon as you get into the Sahel and the sort of semi-desert region south of the Sahara, the leopard will arrive. You probably won't find them in the middle of the Central African rainforests, but you'll certainly find them on the fringes. You do find them certainly in some of the rainforest areas when they fringe with savanna, and then obviously all the way through East Africa, down through Botswana, obviously South Africa, Namibia to our west, Mozambique, where there isn't too much human pressure, and they were lost. I mean, even in places like Cape Town and in places like Pretoria on the Highveld here, they were found until very recently just outside. So I think that you will find that the leopard, good old Panthera pardus, is the most widely distributed wild mammal in Africa. And I believe from all the input from our viewers, we have one sterling intellect there. Well, not sterling in so much as it corresponds with mine, so whether that's true or not, I don't know. Gail, you said leopard. Wonderful. That hippo is now eating soil. Now that is not unusual, but I've seldom seen it before. They're all eating bits of soil, bits of clay, and this time of the year especially, remember we're in winter, very little nutrition in the grass. A lot of animals will engage in what we call geophagia, which is the sort of sampling of soil to try and replace some of the minerals that aren't around in the food. Remember, they can't pop off to the chemist and buy themselves a pack of multivitamins like we can. Jim in Arkansas, you asked me a geological question to which I cannot give you a particularly good answer. You want to know what minerals there are in the soil here. It's granite soils, granite derived soils, so there's a lot of quartzite, and that's pretty much all I can tell you. Safe to say that it's not very nutrient rich. That said, on the bottomland areas, quite a lot of sort of lime. You do get quite limey water from the aquifers and from the underground water that we get here. But those are the sort of main minerals that I can think of. But interestingly, although the water is quite limey, the soil in this area is known to be quite calcium poor. But I'll do a bit more research on that. Try and get you a list of minerals that occur in the soil. Hello, John Boy. You say that the hippos are possibly responsible for eroding the bank. Yes, they could be to a certain extent. A nice question from Russell Irvine in California. This appears to be a man-made dam. Russell, this is a more man-made dam than the pool you have at home. Absolutely correct. Now there's a big fat dam wall at the end of it, and you want to know what mechanisms are used to keep it clean enough for animals to live in, A, and B, to drink. Well, Russell, animals out here can drink the foulest water you can imagine. There's no attempt to keep this water clean at all, and it's just not necessary. So the hippos don't mind lying in muddy water, and most of the time they do. Unless they're in a river, they will be in pretty much in muddy water wherever they are. And just about all animals, elephants being a notable exception, will don't really show a great preference for either kind of dirty water or clean water. Elephants will, if they can, they will select for clean water. But I saw a lion 2 days ago drinking out of the muddiest, most vile cesspit of buffalo dung and urine infested water imaginable. I wouldn't have put my face near it. But the lion lapped it up as though it were sweet elixir. Marianne, nice question. You want to know, do hippos ever eat rocks to maintain their nutritional status, to help with digestion? No, I don't think they do at all. They've got lots of bacteria in the gut that negates the need for that. Then Raina, you want to know, do the hippo ever go up into the lodge? Now the reason I'm using my powerful binoculars just to check if I can see any form of fencing or electrified fencing. And there does seem to be a single strand of electrified wire running in front of the lodge. That will generally be enough to stop the hippo going onto the lawn. If it's not maintained, the hippo would absolutely love to go up there, mainly because that grass especially come this time of the year, is the only green grazing that there is. So they've got a very green lawn, and we as human beings find a brown lawn distasteful to look at. So we water our lawns, and by the end of winter that camp will be a magnet for animals in search, looking for fresh food. So we have often had elephants in camp in the winter time. They come in and they like to eat the trees because the trees maintain a certain amount of moisture that the bush ones don't. So if they can get up into the camp there, they probably will. I'm not sure that that little single strand that I saw is operational all the way around the lodge, so yeah, you've probably got to be quite careful wandering to your room at night at Arathusa Safari Lodge. Right, I think we will leave these hippos, the one cunningly trying to disguise himself with that great blanket of water reeds, and there have been birds flitting in and out of there trying to find bits and pieces to eat as he walks. He thinks he's probably being very stealthy. Those are oxpeckers that have landed on him now. It's quite funny to see. Hippo babies tend to look, they always have a slightly cross look on their face. Hello James, you want to know what kind of grass that is growing in the water? It's not a grass, James, it's a kind of water reed or water lily. I'm not sure what kind it is exactly, I'm afraid. Now, hippo babies always have a slightly sort of cross, sulky look about them. Petulant. I think it's probably because they look like such little fatties. Yeah, eating they're absolutely munching those reeds. Not reeds, but water lilies and water weeds. Cool. Right, well I think we shall press on gently and see what else we can come across. Fire up the engine, the old V6, purring to life she is. So try and find me other hat so that I might shield my pasty white skin from the harshness of the African sun. Of course, my pasty white head, which is now lacking in its natural covering, also must be shielded from the sun. It's warming up very nicely now. So for the zoomies, and those of you who keep the Arathusa Dam cam going most of the day, I would watch out for elephants coming down there during the day. And while we drive through here, we're going to go across to Brent. I think he's got some alarm calls or something exciting. Brent is generally exciting on his own, so we'll go across to him and see you later.
Welcome back everyone. So a bit of an update from our side is that the male lion called again, but he is east of our boundary. So while we were having a look for tracks around, we heard some kudu alarm calling in this general area. So it seems like the cats are taking me on a seriously wild goose chase today, but hopefully it's going to turn into our luck is going to turn. chasing alarm calls and roars, and unfortunately not coming up with anything just at the moment, apart from an old buffalo, which is hiding in the thickets. So let me just go have a look at this old boy, and that'll also give us a chance to listen again. Well, it looks like there's more than one. Oh, actually quite a few. All over the place. Standing by. Copy, thanks very much. I'm in the area. I'll go check via Mamba. So here you go, some buffalo bulls. So now I've just got an update on the Game Drive channel that there's lion tracks heading towards our sort of southeastern corner. Bulls, they've come out here to spend the night away from the cool of the drainage lines. So they come up to the crests where it's a bit warmer, and they're going to start getting moving shortly and move towards the water holes and drainage lines where there's nice grass and some water. I think from where we are, these guys are probably going to head towards Twin Dams. And we are going to do the same, because apparently the guys to the south of us say there are tracks of 2 male lions heading in that general direction. It seems like there's a lot of lion audio going on today, and it's been quite confusing. And we definitely heard the Nkahuma Pride very close to where they crossed across our boundary. It looks like they've gone north into the Manuleti. The guys who can go across there went to check. And then there is another pride of lions which I have not seen yet, that does sometimes come quite close to our eastern boundary, called the Torchwood Pride. And those are probably the lions we're after. But I think there's 2 male lion tracks, almost certainly just from the area they're in, would be the Matimbas. So let us keep our fingers crossed. Hi, PK from our. PK is the person who issued me a challenge to find more lizards yesterday. PK, unfortunately, is still a bit cool for the lizards this morning. But PK would also like an update on wild dogs in the area. Do I have one? And specifically some of those pregnant females we saw a couple of weeks ago. So PK, the update on the half-tail pack, which is the big pack, the one we followed around Arathusa a week or so ago, but they have denned to the south and east of us on a neighboring property, and so unfortunately they didn't den on us. Now the pack of 5, or the Investec pack, no one knows whether they've denned yet. The last place they were seen was near our northwestern boundary in the Manuleti Game Reserve, and there has not been an update for about 5 or 6 days on them. So there's a strong possibility that they have denned, but in the Manuleti. But it is close enough that we might possibly get them on their hunting trips coming down here. So I was up in that area near where we found the lion tracks crossing this morning. Is the area I've been keeping a very close lookout for the wild dog tracks, but nothing as of yet. Hi, George from Florida. George would like to know if I've got any updates. You seem to be the news anchor for Djuma and the animals, about where the sticks females with those 3 bundles of joy, those 3 very cute little lion cubs are. And I have an update. They were seen yesterday to the east of us, all looking in good order and good health, and they were seen then moving further south. So unfortunately further away from us, but nice to know that they're all in good health still. And so Mom's doing a very good job. All 3 little ones are still present and accounted for. Hi, Blair. Blair, I shall keep on my reporting duties. I like to know what's going on around there. So Blair would like to know if I have an update on what has happened with the Birmingham boys. They were in Buffelshoek, which is to the north of us, 2 mornings ago, and they have now crossed north into the Manyaretti. And so they hopefully will come back. I'm still here, but I've got a very strong suspicion that they're going to become quite a formidable coalition about male lions. The skybed males, who I wasn't sure who they were or where they're from, apparently were originally from the Timbavati, and it is a coalition of 9 males. Isn't that absolutely fascinating? And they were last apparently moved territory slightly into the Manyaretti, the northern sections of the Manyaretti, and east into Kruger. So that traditionally falls within where the Birminghams might roam. So it could be quite interesting whether those skybed males push the Birmingham boys further down towards us. Always checking the junctions for the tracks. So now that we've done our morning updates, the news is over. We'll be handing over to our other correspondent, who has got his, let me think how to put this, is hands-on somewhere out there in the bush. So over to James, who is hands-on, busy scuffling around. And we'll be back with you a little later.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Wendy. I've been sat at this termite mound now for about 3 minutes, hoping desperately that by the time you came across to us I would have something interesting to show you, rather like the chimpanzee trying to get the termites out of the termite mound. But as I broke open the top to expose a tunnel, I expected there to be a great wash of metabolic heat from inside the mound, but there isn't any, and I don't think this has actually been active for a little while. I'm just going to... Brian, can you hear that? I think it was too faint for the microphone to pick up. There was a lion calling. Long way north of us. Very unusual this time of the day. Lots of territorial dispute going on at the moment. Yeah, it stopped calling. And my grass twig is indeed termite free. Sorry about that. You never can tell how the termites will behave. Take my scarf off, such as the burgeoning heat of the day. And we're still on Arathusa, heading in a northerly direction towards that Lion Pride Sound, but I think that's probably well north of where we're allowed to go, I'm afraid. Maybe not. We'll just keep going north as far as we can, and then we'll turn back east. Hello Diana in northwest England. I wonder which part of northwest England you are in. Probably a fairly termite-free zone there. Nice question. What would cause termites to abandon their mounds? It's not so much a question of abandonment as it is a question of the queen dying out. And so when she stops producing eggs, the termites will probably keep building until they die, and then there's just no more of them. So they don't sort of, unlike a beehive which will abandon an area and go and build a hive somewhere else, termites won't move mounds, as far as I'm aware. Then the other thing is that that termite mound is not abandoned. I think the termites have for some reason disappeared far underground, possibly because of the temperature, because of the cold, and I think they've just left that particular tunnel unattended, and that's why there's nothing going on there. And a question from I think it's Savannah. Lovely name that. Savannah, you want to know about termites in homes, and it's quite a common question that we get, and a valid one, especially to those living in North America. Remember, there are lots of termite mounds around here, but in South Africa we don't build with timber, so none of the walls in our homes are made of wood, and so we don't tend to have anything like the troubles you have. Where we do have troubles is on the wooden decking, which we have to treat very carefully and check for termites all the time. But because that's just wooden decking where we'd sit on verandas, we do have to replace it from time to time because of the termites, but it's not a major issue like it is in areas where you build in timber. Hello Diana, again, you're in Lancashire. Very nice, I think. Well, not as nice as here perhaps, but it's probably quite nice as far as England goes. You want to know, do we get fire here, and are there any plants that depend on fire to germinate the seeds? Diana, I can't think of, we do get lots of fire here. It's very important for the bush. It clears away the moribund grass. It burns away some of the dead wood that's around the place. It tends to help with disease control. It doesn't clear bush, but it does take away dead grass. All of the trees here are adapted to surviving fire, so they can all cope with fire. And while their tops of the trees die off, it's actually just in an area where there had been a fire before. You crossed us before the hippo. All the trees will die off on top, and then they sprout again from the bottom, and they survive perfectly. The grasslands are often what we call fire, or used to be called fire climax grasslands. Just got some impala all staring in one direction over there. We'll stop here and listen while we explain. See that, Brian? Okay. A long way away, so we won't get a great view of them, but they're definitely all staring in one direction. And unless they're particularly fascinated by fire ecology, there's no reason for them to be looking over here. They're not alarm calling though. You can see them there, Brian.
Yep.
They seem to be relaxing slightly now. Never a great sign. We'll just carry on down the road here. So Diana, a lot of our grasslands in this country do depend on their health. Their health depends on fires coming through them every so often. So nice question, thank you for that. I've no doubt, especially in the, I know in the Fynbos regions, which is a long way from here, down in the Western Cape and on the mountains of the, leading up into the Eastern Cape, there's a specific type of floral kingdom called the Fynbos, where all sorts of very different kinds of plants. It's the most species-rich plant diversity in the world, the Fynbos has, even more so than the Amazon. And a lot of those species will not germinate without fire, so they do need fire every so often. Hello Laureen in Michigan, 2 questions from you. One a fairly typical one, the other not so much. The first one being, what is the biggest snake that I've ever come across? Well, Laureen, the biggest snake I ever came across was actually in a sort of, I was helping film I was performing in a thing where we were sort of setting up a snake catching exercise where I was playing the trainer of these potential students for snake catching, and we brought in a 5-meter python. Now 5 meters is about 17 feet. So the python, African rock python, 17 feet long. And I had to then pretend to be the expert and catch it. Now I'm no snake wrangler. I will catch the odd snake if I have the right equipment, but I'm not Steve Irwin. I'm not going to jump on the back end of a snake unless I can avoid it. But so it fell on me, and the guy said to me, well, I'll tell you what, all you need to do is just toss a wet rag, a wet t-shirt over its head, and then before it's shaking it off, grab it behind the head. But he said, be careful, because it's 5 meters long. So once you've got it around the head, unless everybody else grabs a piece of the body, it's going to twist itself around you, and you're going to be facing the snake like that, with its great big mouth open and ready to swallow your face. Now, while there was never any danger that the snake would try and eat me, pythons possess a very nasty bite, and on more than one occasion during the ensuing mayhem as I tried to catch the thing, it nearly bit me, and as it rose up, it always sort of came up at the right height for my nether regions, which resulted in my making some very unmanly screams. Anyway, we eventually caught the python, put him back in his box, and no one was harmed. Most importantly, not the python. And the most, then you've asked, your second question was, what was the thing that has influenced me the most in the bush? You may lose us here, so if you do, I'm sorry about that. We're in a slightly dodgy signal area. Difficult to say. Laureen, I think we're just going to stop here, and I'll quickly tell you, Laureen, I can't pick. It's like when somebody says to you, what's your favorite song? It's almost impossible to answer that question, because it just depends on the time and how you're feeling. So for me, my favorite times in the bush have been with 1 or 2 good friends in a place of extraordinary beauty. So sitting on top of a kopje, which is a rocky outcrop, looking out west to the Drakensberg with the sun going down, or waking up early in a winter's morning and going and sitting on a high point and watching the sun come up. with a hot cup of coffee with some good friends. Those have been my favorite times and the ones that have touched me the most in the bush. Lots of animal incidents, but difficult to pick one. We're going to go across to Brent while we get through this dodgy signal area, and we'll see you just on the other side of it.
Welcome back, everyone. We are on the trail of lions again. Now, with the amount of lion calling and tracks and activity that's going on this morning, I can honestly say I do not have a clue which lions these could be possibly. I just heard that the sticks with the cubs were found again this morning near the Kruger National Park boundary. And we had tracks of a male and two females heading in this direction. I can't seem to see them now. I'm just going to check the next road that cuts into Djuma, and then I'm going to go back to the last tracks and we'll give you a show of the tracks, and you can see they're nice and fresh. But I'm unfortunately, it seems this morning, patrolling boundaries, and the tracks seem to decide to vacate our premises. But hopefully this will be a different scenario. Hi, Michelle from Seattle, Washington. Michelle is planning a visit to the Sabi Sands, and she would like to know if other reserves or other lodges are allowed to drive on Djuma and Arathusa, and do we share our information about all the sightings? Well, Michelle, we do. Only certain lodges can drive on Djuma and Arathusa, obviously apart from Djuma and Arathusa, and you would have to research which ones exactly those are. But even the lodges where we don't have shared traverse with, we do have radio channels where we can get hold of each other, and we will communicate. So even though the Styx Pride is very far from where our traverse area is, the guys have let me know just in case, so I don't spend hours upon hours looking for lions that aren't there. And we would do the same for them. If a lion crossed out of our area into their area, we'd jump on the radio and say, listen guys, lions crossed the road here, good luck. So we do share information about animal sightings between all of us, and obviously that helps all of us in giving the best game drive possible and finding the most animals. Although for me, on this wonderful sunrise safari, all the information I seem to get is about lions leaving and not coming in. But hopefully this last set of tracks I was looking at now have decided to go north, not south. It is quite difficult to see tracks on this road because it is a very busy access road used by quite a number of lodges. So you have delivery trucks bringing the food and maintenance vehicles and guests coming in and out on transfer vehicles. So sometimes it can make tracking on these roads quite challenging. So the last track I saw was around base here. Let us see, which way did they go? I'm just checking very carefully here. I will show you a track now. I'm just trying to establish which way they went. And unfortunately, that does not look like good news for us. I'm just going to move the vehicle so Jean-Ray can show you the truck. How's the shadows on that side? Okay, I'm just going to jump out and I'll show you where it is now. Where did I spot that truck? I have to move again. You see it from there? No. Okay, well, I'm going to try, let me see if there's one a bit closer. But there have been vehicles up and down and over them. But I will try and move the car so you can have a nice look. It's a Lioness track. Okay. So unfortunately we are on our southern boundary and here's the track. You can see two distinct there, back foot, front foot, and then unfortunately she turned and there's the next track and the more difficult to see. But in the softer sand, so more spread, so it's even bigger than the ones on the harder sand, and she has continued south. Oh dear. Don't worry, I haven't given up yet. When in doubt, take a guess. So I'm going to guess where I might find some animals now. And obviously when I say guess, I'm not really meaning just a straight guess. It is an educated guess. So at this time of the year, looking at areas that are likely to hold animals. So we're going to go check some water holes. I think the first one will be Twin Downs, since we're right here. And then towards Treehouse next, I think. It's always quite exciting coming up with Twin Dams because you come from, oh, look at that. My favorite antelope species. A little female bushbuck. It looks like she might be eating a bone. Let me just move forward a little bit, just judging from the way she's chewing like that. And there is an old carcass in this area. Isn't she beautiful and so relaxed? You can actually see there's some old bones around, and it definitely looks like she's picked up a small piece and is eating it for calcium. There you can see she's about to pass a bigger piece of bone there at her feet. Oh, and she is licking it. So it's obviously she's very definitely feeling like she's got a lack of calcium in her diet at the moment, and she's busy chewing on these old buffalo bones. What did she hear? We didn't. No. I love the way bushbuck walk. They're so delicate. Always stopping and listening. Very alert. Oh, and look, in front of us there's Andre, coming to join. I would say this is her youngster. Looks like another little young female. And that's what she's listening. And you can see where, as we get around her, there we go. And she's walking now. You can see that very delicate walk, almost very, very considered where they put their feet, and constantly listening as well. So the Zulu name for bushbuck is Mbabala. And it is after all those very delicate little white spots we can see on them, and it basically translates to the one who has been drawn on. So really, really beautiful little antelope. And as I was saying, it's always really exciting as you approach the Twin Dams waterhole, is because you've got this wall when you come from the south, so you never quite know what's going to be on the other side. With these two looking so relaxed, unfortunately I don't think there's going to be a predator, but looks like the little one's going to go join mom. And you can see both of them there, and she's seriously having a good lick at that bone, or even chewing it. Look at that. And she's picked up an old buffalo rib and chewing on it quite substantially. Let's see if she does that again. So I know I've asked this question a few times before, but it's always good to check if you guys have been listening. What is it called when animals chew on bones like that when they have a lack of calcium? And you can send your answers to questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag SafariLive if you're on Twitter. Very gnawing at the end of that rib, trying to break off obviously smaller pieces. It's a bit too big for her. And not often you'll see a bushbuck pick up a piece of bone that big. Obviously that she's come across this buffalo carcass, a very old buffalo carcass here, and there's some vertebrae and ribs, and I know there's a skull I've seen in the grass here somewhere. So there we go, she's broken off a little piece of bone and now chewing it. And when we first spotted her, you could almost immediately see that she wasn't sort of chewing what her normal diet, sort of leaves and that, just from the way she was chewing. See, far more up and down than the sort of side-to-side motion if she had been chewing or ruminating. And there the little ones joined her. You can hear something in the dam, and I think that's what the little one is as well. I can hear sort of like splashing and whatnot. I'm gonna hesitant to guess that I think it's probably a bird that's feeding or fishing. So we'll leave these two little bushbuck and just move forward slightly. That's what I do love about this. You see there's the wall in front of us there, and you never really know what's on the other side. Well, I know one thing that's on the other side. I can hear a hammerkop calling. So we're gonna sneak up and see what's on the other side. Aha. Oh, and it's got a fish. So that's what we heard, fishing. And it's just caught a fish. I'll try to see what type of fish now. Wow, it looks like it's got a nice sized tilapia there. Well done, Saddlebow. Yes, definitely a tilapia. A Mozambique tilapia would be my guess, just looking at the color of the fish. And, oh, there we go. See, let's put it back into a little bit of water there. I think it's trying to make sure it's dead and stab it. There we go, making sure, and it's put it into a little pool there that it can't escape out of. It's a very big tilapia. Isn't that incredible? So even though it's caught it, it hasn't quite managed to kill it yet, and obviously trying to swallow a live fish that's moving around a lot is going to be quite difficult. So what that saddleball is doing is now stabbing it with that very sharp beak of it, and to try actually kill it and make it safe for consumption. And that bird you heard calling there was the hummerkop, which we will have a look at once we've watched this. Oh, there's a hummerkop walking into shot. Well cued, I think, that time. Let's watch what this saddleball does and see how long it takes. It is quite a big fish, even for a big bird like that. And you can see it holds it to feel if there's any movement, and then pops it back into the water. Oh, it's got stuck on the end of the beak. Looks like no, not yet. So when it's time to swallow that tilapia, the saddle will line it up in a sort of straight line to try and get it straight down the gullet. There we go. Looks like it might be lining up for a swallow now. No, decided there's still a little bit of life left in that poor tilapia. From an interest point of view, if any of you eat a tilapia in the United States, I know it is quite readily available in a lot of your supermarkets, and it is actually the same species or a hybrid of this exact species of tilapia we're watching the saddleboard stork eat at the moment. I'm not going to try to go any closer at the moment just in case they move, but maybe we will just sit, and if they become more relaxed with our presence, we might slide a little bit closer. So as I was saying about the tilapia, the Mozambique tilapia is the tilapia that is readily available in a lot of supermarkets in the States, but it's actually a hybrid. It's a cross between a Nile tilapia and a Mozambique tilapia. Mozambique tilapia, oh, is it time to go down the gullet? So it might even be possibly a little bit big for this saddleball. And as I was saying, so the tilapia species that you have on sale in the supermarkets in the United States is a hybrid between a Mozambique and a Nile tilapia. A Mozambique tilapia, which the saddleball is busy with there, is the best eating of the tilapia species. And magnificent flesh, really tasty, but it is quite slow growing. Whereas the Nile tilapia, although the flesh is still very good, but not nearly as tasty, is the fastest growing of the tilapia species. So they've hybridized the two to create a fast growing and still very good eating fish, and that's what you're able to purchase in the supermarkets in America. So I'm going to try slide forward a little bit. I think the saddleballs are quite relaxed with our presence at the moment. One of the main reasons is that the saddleball tries to deal with a fish in a little bit of water is due to the fact they don't like eating dirt. So obviously in a little bit of water they can keep it clear of sand and dust. And now the saddleball is busy escorting the hammerkorp away from it. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Come on, is it time for down the gullet yet? I think the fishes definitely might be a little bit too big for the saddleball to just wolf down. You can hear those hammerkorps making a lot of noise. I'm sure they're quite jealous of a fish of that size, even though that fish is probably weighs about the same as the hammerkorp. Hi, Michael, Flagstaff. Michael, we'll get to your question in a second. As you can see, those pair of bushbuck, the female and the youngster, have come down to have a drink. And that saddleball stork is, I think, going to be a while of stabbing before he's ready to swallow. You can see there's a hammerkorp just in the foreground in front of the bushbuck. So Michael would like to know what is the source of the water in the water holes and rivers here. Well, in the north where we are, a lot of these are man-made, including the one we're sitting at now. So they've just put a dam wall across a little natural depression, but they're not pumped, so the water here is from the rains during the wet season, and obviously as it gets drier and drier. Oh, this saddleball seems to have seen something, maybe another fish. And now oh, Lisa seems, it sounds like the hammerkorps are laughing at the stork's inability to swallow his prey. But this other one obviously saw some movement of a fish or a frog in the water and moved quite quickly there, and now it's just keeping still and having a look. So obviously, for a lot of the aquatic birds, as these water holes dry up, it makes the hunting of fish and frogs and other aquatic insects much easier. Well done to Shanae, Debbie, Gail, and Marianne, who got that question spot on. The question was, what do you call it when an antelope or a mammal, actually all species, start eating bones for calcium? And the answer to that is osteophagia. Well done, guys. So I'm wondering whether this poor saddle-billed stork is actually going to be able to swallow that fish. I'm pretty sure it's dead as a doorknob by now, but I think it might just be a little bit big. So guys, I think that tilapia might be a little bit big, and it's going to take, with that stork's bill design, quite a long time to be able to chop it into a small enough morsel to swallow. But I don't think it's going to give up on such a nice big meal like that. So it might just be using its beak to break down the sort of sharp spines and bones and get it to the point where it's enabled. It's going to be able to swallow it. So it has been a rather frustrating sunrise safari, but still wonderful to be out in the bush as always. And we've had such a fantastic time out there tracking, and I'm sure James has been keeping you entertained while the cats have been keeping me, I wouldn't go as far as to say entertained, but definitely making me work a little bit harder today, the cat species, and hopefully we are able to rectify the fact that they are completely confusing me at the moment, quite shortly. But for the last couple of seconds, we're going to cross back to saddle-billed storks. But before then, guys, it's been really wonderful having you. Thanks very much for joining us, and thanks to all our team in Final Control and the people who fix gremlins. And it's been spectacular being out here in this beautiful early morning, and we will hopefully see you on the sunset safari. But in the meantime, for those of you who want, there's a huge herd of elephants that have just arrived at the Arathusa waterhole, so you can tune into the Arathusa waterhole camera to see what's going on with those elephants. We're going to have one last look to see if the stork manages to swallow the tilapia.